It is Wednesday, my dudes, and time for an old man yapping. And it's been a fairly rough week. So, we're going to be hitting the old rum and coke again. So who knows how fucking long this thing is going to be. I'm still looking at hit boxes and hurt boxes. And it's not that these are especially hard to understand. I mean, for those of you that may not have done the looking into it at all, there's really not much to it, okay? You put a hit box on a layer, and you put a hurt box on a mask, and when a hit box collides with a mask, then you fire a signal, and the object with the mask gets the signal, and when it gets the signal, it applies the damage. Now, the issue is I don't like the simplistic nature of this, because damage in a game is fairly complex. There are a lot of different parts to it. And one of those parts is what we call invulnerability frames, which is a period of time after being hurt that nothing else can hurt you. So you can exploit this in a lot of games. You can exploit this by having something that does a little bit of damage constantly hurting you, and then things that do a lot of damage are incapable of hurting you because you're constantly being hurt by the thing that does a little bit of damage, and your invulnerability frames keep you undamageable all the time. So whenever the big damage thing happens, it can't hit you because you're in your invulnerability frames. So nobody seems to be building anything that has these fairly basic conventions in it. Like you see a bullet that hits an enemy and the enemy takes health damage or disappears. What you don't see is anybody doing something like Pierce, where the bullet hits an enemy and proceeds through that enemy to hit other enemies. We don't see people doing that. We don't see people parameterizing anything. We don't see people working with with any kind of upgradable capabilities. We're not using variables that pull from specific areas. And there's this huge list of, every time I look at how Godot does something, it does the most basic, bog standard variety of that something, which is not even remotely production ready. And you have to apply all of the production ready stuff on top of that. But you have to do that entirely in a vacuum because nobody else is doing it. And nobody else is talking about how to do it. And that's very frustrating. And I'm definitely going to make some quantity of videos that say, look, here's how this thing works, because I spent fucking months working on how to do this. I don't really spend months working on how to do it. I spend a couple hours here and a couple hours there a few times a week. And, I work it out when I work it out. But I'm just, my attentions are so divided lately because I tried to paint a portrait and it sucked, and I'm just like, oh man, that was terrible. I don't want to suck that bad at doing this. So I'm working on that, and I'm doing a lot of research on that, and I'm studying portrait painting and how to do stuff. I got this thing, a proportional divider, and essentially what this is it's just It's just a pair of pointers that are connected to each other. And what you do is you set the scale, and then you measure the thing that you want to measure with the two little points on this side. And when you have the scale set to 1 to 1, then the other side is exactly the same size. But, you know, you could just use the same size. The thing is that because it's proportional, you can slide it up here to the 2 on the scale. And then, when you measure the distance between two things, you turn it around, and you're actually measuring double the distance between the two things. And you can't actually see that on camera, so it's a complete fucking waste of time. And my focus is all fucked up, because fuck this camera, and fuck everything. Everything's annoying. And anyway, I got this thing because, as I saw all these people say, this is the most useful tool. And I got this tool, and it's about as useful as this thing, which is to say, not very. It looks nice. It looks pretty good. It's a cute thing to have. And people go, "Ooh, he has a brass proportional divider. He must be really serious about his art." Well, yeah, but you know, that's not what that means. It means I spent $20 I didn't need to spend, which I guess means I'm serious about my art, because $20 is a lot of money to me. And it shouldn't be. I'm a software developer. God, I used to make $20 in 6 minutes. Anyway, what was I saying? Oh, yeah. Did I used to make $20 in 6 minutes? No, I didn't. It was, well, there was that little bit of time. There was a short period of time where, because of multipliers and crisis situations and elements of the independent contractor agreement, for a short period of time, I was in fact paid $216 an hour. But that was just for a weekend, so I don't know if that really counts. $216 an hour does, in fact, work out to $21.60 every 6 minutes. Which is $3.60 a minute. That's pretty fucking good. And the problem is, you know what they do with engineers when they turn 40? They take them out and shoot them. You go from $93 an hour to nobody wants to give you a fucking job. And that's very frustrating. Anyway, but I'm working on this stuff, and every time I go and look at it, it's like the amount of information out there is just small, and I'm floundering out there in this vacuum trying to go, okay, well, what does this need to look like? And it doesn't help that I've never built I've never built a game like this game before. And now I'm trying to build it in a modern climate where the game has evolved so much beyond the games that I used to build. Because, like, I haven't even tried to build a platformer or anything where you, like, actually run into enemies since the early 2000s, you know? I mean, I was building little arcade things. I was building Breakout clones. I was building RPGs, turn-based JRPG shit. Where it's like, you know, you attack, you do damage, and there's no collision, there's no physics. It's bullshit, you know. It's even on the world map. There's no physics in collision. It's just, this is where you can walk. This is not where you can walk. That's it. Like RPG Maker kind of stuff. Not that I used RPG Maker. We didn't have it when I was doing that stuff. Well, I think we actually did have it. It's just that it was fucking expensive, and all the assets were fucking expensive, and it's like, I'm not paying that kind of money for a fucking tile-based bullshit. I write my own goddamn tile manager, which really isn't that hard. Gatto has an excellent one. What was I talking about? I have no fucking idea what I was talking about. Oh, yeah. This is the same thing I complain about all the time. I have a question about how to do something, and I go and I say, well, okay, documentation, how do I do this? It doesn't really say. All right, surely there are some tutorials on it. Why, yes, there are. Here are some tutorials. Here's how you just barely do the thing. Well, that's how I do it at all. Now, how do I do it properly? How do I do it well? How do I do it in a way that it's actually extensible? It's like the Gatto documentation, their collision detection is just like, here's how you build it so when you run into something, you die. Okay, but that's not very helpful. And then you go and you watch a Hitbox Hurtbox thing, and they're going, here's how you do it so when you run into a thing, you take some damage. Okay, and you take damage every frame until it stops hurting you. Well, it's fairly simple to put some invulnerability frames into that, but we also want to indicate somehow that you've got invulnerability frames running. Like you want to flash the sprite or something, or alter the material settings. You want to do something to visually indicate that invulnerability is on. And there's a lot of just basic experimentation that I need to do, and I'm not doing it because I'm frustrated and I'm annoyed. And I really just need to buckle in and do that fucking experimentation. Because it's the two things that you learn very early in programming and that eventually you stop needing to do. You learn to trust the process and just go back to the very beginning of what it is you're doing and just go, okay, let's start all the way from the beginning and we'll just go through the steps. Because the steps work, and we know the steps work, so just go back to the beginning of the steps and do that. And you keep trying to go, no, I don't need to do that. I only need to do the last part of this. No, it wouldn't be anywhere in the beginning steps. 90% of dumb shit that you get wrong in your code is going to be in those beginning steps. So when you've got something wrong and you're like, I don't know what the fuck it is, back up to the beginning. Go all the way back to the start of it and just walk through it. Just follow the steps and trust the process. And as you go farther along, you're like, I shouldn't need to trust the process. The process that's for newbies. I don't need to do that. And that's one of the things that will build your reputation when you actually go and you work professionally. Like, I had this one job where they came to me and they said, we have shown this to everybody. Nobody knows what the fuck is going on. This worked, and now it doesn't. And I don't know if you know anything about Fortran. And as luck would have it, I did understand Fortran, because Fortran is like, there are a couple of languages that that everybody used for a while. There was COBOL and Fortran and Pascal, and it's like everybody used those for a while, and then everybody went, no, let's do everything in C. But we still had all of these programs in COBOL and Fortran and Pascal. So they brought me this Fortran program, and they're like, it used to work, and now it doesn't work, and we don't know why. Okay. Well, I looked through it, and sure enough, everything was all fucked up. But the code looked right. All of the code looked right, except for some weird shit. Like, I would see stuff where the guy was multiplying by 4 minus 1, or by 2 plus 1, or he was multiplying by 6 and then dividing by 2. There was all of this weird shit that he was doing. And eventually I just dropped back all the way to the beginning. And one of the things about Fortran is, technically everything in Fortran is a variable. So some fucking genius at some point had gotten tired of typing the entire value of pi. So he redefined 3 to the value of pi. Well, a couple of weeks before this code came to me, somebody went in and they changed some of the equations. They changed some of the calculations. And they used a 3, which was redefined. So wherever they used 3, they were using pi. They didn't know that, so all of the calculations are off. Everything's all fucked up, and everybody's trying to fix it here and trying to fix it there. Nobody knows what the hell is going on. But it was because he had redefined 3 to pi. So he was doing all of these acrobatics in his equations to not use the number 3, and he would use 2 plus 1, or 4 minus 1, or 6 divided by 2. And 6 divided by 2 ended up being his, like, favorite thing, because he'd multiply by 6, and then he would just left shift by, it's right shift, actually. He would right shift by 1 bit to get that divide by 2 in there. And everybody was just confused about, why is he jumping through these hoops? He's jumping through those hoops to not use the number 3, because not using the number 3 is substantially easier than typing out the value of pi over and over again out to like 20 decimal places. And I found that by just walking through it and going, okay, let's start all the way at the beginning of the program and look at the variable definitions. And he redefined 3. And I went, well, there's your problem. And for some reason, that made a lot of people think I was a genius. Oh, he found this thing. Nobody could find it, and he found it. I just trusted the process. I just backed up to the beginning. That's all that I did. And for decades, that was like, back up to the beginning and do the thing. You just trust the process and do the thing. The one thing I never really managed to internalize, that is the other piece of advice I would give people, the thing that I really need to internalize and still haven't, and God damn it, what the hell is wrong with me, is just try it. Just try the thing. Just write a little bit of code and make the thing happen and see if it works. Now, I don't know how to do this. Well, try it. Try something. And you'll have something that doesn't work. And then you'll go, okay, it doesn't work. It's broke. How do we fix it? I haven't internalized that yet. I don't do that as much as I should. And I don't know why I don't do that as much as I should. Trusting the process has always done really well for me. Just try it has not done really well for me. I've been bitten by it a couple of times. Just try it can be dangerous when you don't know what you're doing. And when I first started out, I didn't know what I was doing. And I would just try it, and shit would go very, very wrong. You know, I said last time I did one of these streams with a rum and coke, I should stop mixing the rum and cokes so stiff. So, of course, this time I mixed a stiffer one, because I'm nothing if not irresponsible. Oh, look at that. Yeah, see? I told you. I mixed it even stiffer, and now I can't fucking pour my own drinks. I clean that up and clean that up and clean that up. How can you not drink with everything that's going on these days? I'm not going to talk about it. 1.8 million fucking people. Anyway, I need to internalize that. I need to internalize that do something mindset, and I don't have that. And I did that with my little I did that with my reuse test and with like doing the driver where I can like fire stuff up as I'm going through. Just unrelated. As I'm going through the excuse me. As I'm going through the documentation for collisions, I find this one line in the documentation that's like, oh, by the way, don't scale your collision shapes because the physics engine can't fucking handle it. Nobody was going to say anything? Just this one fucking line buried in the documentation? Is a perfect fucking example of that goddamn tribal knowledge where it's just like, if you've been through all of the stuff, you see the little thing and you go, oh, well, there's that thing, and you feel like you know what's going on. Meanwhile, most people aren't looking at the documentation and coming across that thing. I have actually been just kind of like reading through the Godot documentation page by page. I've been like reading through to the end of the page and just clicking next and going through it that way because people are covering an inordinate amount of information, but they're not covering stuff that's important to know. And I feel like on the one hand, it's important to recognize what's important for you to know first, what's important for you to know now. And on the other hand, I feel like people are leaving out a lot of important shit. So it's like you watch somebody say, here's how you implement hitboxes and hurtboxes, and it's a 20-minute video that could have been a 3-minute video if they just got straight to the part that they were actually talking about, instead of saying, let me explain what a physics engine is. If you're implementing hitboxes and hurtboxes, I think you should probably be past, I don't know what a physics engine is. But people come in from a vacuum. And I understand that, you know, you may have somebody that just went, how do I do this shit? In a search bar. And they've never done anything like this before. And I get it that people may be coming in completely cold and 100% ignorant about what you're talking about. But I feel like the answer to that is to go, you need to know this, go watch that video. You need to know that, go watch this other video. If you don't know these things, you're not ready to do this shit, fuck off and go learn what those things are. And I don't know if I'm the right person to be critiquing tutorials about stuff, because I'm trying to do fairly advanced things for sufficiently limited definitions of advanced. Like, what I want to do is I want to build the components, I want to build the elements of what goes into the game, so that I can use those elements in other games later. And Nobody else seems to care about that. It's like everybody's out there trying to build their first and only game. Don't you want to build a bunch of games? Don't you have a dozen ideas and it's hard to decide which one you want to do first? And that's where I am. That's what I'm doing. I got all these fucking ideas. I got all these things I want to build. I got all these things I want to do, but I got to pick one and work on it. And this one is the one that I just go, this has the most stuff that actually bears on the other things that I want to do. I don't want to sit here and go, maybe I'm built different. I don't think I am built different. I think I'm just in a different place than most people. I think the great majority of people that are going, how do I make games, are like teenagers. But when I was a teenager, we didn't have this shit. We didn't have engines. That wasn't a thing. You had to build everything all the way from scratch. And things kept changing. Things kept changing in the world of operating systems. That was the big issue with building games back in the 80s and 90s. Was every time you turned around, the operating system was different, and you had different facilities. And then, we got Windows 3. And Windows 3 did some stuff pretty well. And then we got Windows NT, and Windows NT was even better, but nobody was fucking running Windows NT. That was a business thing. And then along came Windows 95, and Windows 95 was pretty damn good. Windows 98 was fucking great. And then they did Windows ME, and that was fucking garbage. They did Windows 2000, and I guess Windows 2000 was okay. And then there was Windows XP. Okay, Windows XP, that was the thing for a long time. But everything kept changing. Everything was changing all the time. And we're just like, we're now in a place where, we've had Windows 11 for years. We've had Windows 11 long enough that Windows 10 isn't even supported anymore, I don't think. And that's a 7-year update cycle, I think. That's the software lifespan under Microsoft support theory. It used to be 7 years. I think it still is 7 years. They may have downgraded it to 5. It seems like 7 is a lot longer than it should be. Was Windows 10 all the way back in 2018? I don't know. I don't care. I'm not looking it up. Fuck you. But we're now in a place where things are not changing all the time under our feet, which is interesting because people act like the progress of technology is so much faster. And it's really not. It really has slowed down. Except with the garbage farting machine. They keep calling it AI. It's not AI. I made a post that seemed to resonate with a number of people a couple days ago, where I said, fundamentally, most of the stuff that we're calling AI right now isn't really AI. It's just brute force and statistics. Because we know there's a pattern in the data. We just can't see the data. We just can't see the pattern in the data. So we take the data and we give it to a machine and we go, what's the pattern? We can't find the pattern. And the machine goes, oh, there it is. And we can't make any sense of the pattern that the machine found because it's way too complicated. It's way too multidimensional and complex for us to make any sense of. But the computer has found a pattern in it. And we're like, oh, okay, you found the pattern. So here's a whole bunch more data. Can you find that pattern in there too? Yeah, sure. And it goes and it finds the pattern through there. You're like, yay, it's smart. It's smarter than us. It found the thing we couldn't find. It's brute force and statistics. It's just pattern matching. It's just pattern matching. That's all it is. It's search and sort. Search and sort are not intelligence. That's not... It's like saying, oh, wow, it put the books on the shelf in alphabetical order. Look how smart it is. It's not smart. It knows the fucking alphabet. That's all. And we got people that are making claims. There's a group, just earlier today, there's a group that said, we trained a new model using $50 of cloud computing credits. Did you really? Because training a new model for an LLM is like a 150,000 hour process. So I think you started from somebody else's training data. I think you downloaded the training data somebody else built in 150,000 hours. And you distilled it into your new model and went, oh, the distillation wasn't that expensive, which is one of the things people don't get about the environmental impact of LLMs. They go, you make one query and you boil 12 gallons of ocean water. No, you don't. You get the query back in like 5 seconds. That's not enough time to boil 12 gallons of ocean water. You can't boil 12 gallons of ocean water that fast. It's not possible. What they're doing is they're rolling up every query. They're going, that query depends on a library, and that library required 150,000 hours. So you run one query, and it's 150,000 hours. But it's not. We already spent that 150,000 hours. And then you run another query, and it's using the same data. Well, that's another 150,000 hours. No, it's not. It's the same 150,000 hours. You've now got 75,000 hours per query. The more queries you make, the lower the environmental impact of the training goes. But that's numbers. It's not reality. There are a lot of people that are out there doing a lot of garbage in the AI field, and they don't seem to understand the first fucking thing about what they're doing. And then you got these alignment dickheads that are sitting there going, we need to make sure it's aligned with human goals. You can't. Because there are models that are open sourced. It's overwhelmingly likely that the breakthrough leading to AGI, artificial generalized intelligence, it's overwhelmingly likely that the breakthrough leading to that is going to happen in some dude's basement while he's trying to make deep fake porn. It's not going to happen in one of your big think tanks. It's not going to happen in one of these big corporate environments where you have an alignment team that is busily making sure it doesn't do anything terrible to the human race. It's going to be some guy making porn in his basement. It's just, I mean, AGI is going to come out of some gooner's deepfake experiment. But nobody wants to admit that, and nobody wants to accept that. And it's just The breakthrough that we get is going to be a tiny thing that adds on top of all of the other tiny things and makes a big thing. And it's going to happen down in the trenches. It's not going to come out of the ivory tower. And there's not going to be an alignment team. And it's not going to be evaluated. And it's not going to be vetted. It's just going to be some random shit that hits the street. So it's a pointless waste of time to fucking worry about it. It's gonna happen. It's just like worrying about whether the Earth is gonna get hit by an asteroid. If it does, it does. There's nothing we can do. Really shouldn't make another, so I'm not gonna. I'm not that irresponsible. Anyway. Life is shitty right now. The world is shitty. Every project I'm working on is shitty. I can't paint fucking portraits. I can't seem to compose music worth a shit anymore. It's been too long. I don't have the flow when I fire up the digital audio workstation and I try to compose music. I don't remember how anything works. I've been too busy with the art. I've been too busy with the programming. I'm not happy about that. And I'm not happy about the fact that I don't have hitboxes and hurtboxes working. I should have them working. But I haven't actually tried, which is why I need to internalize that just fucking try it mindset. I just need to throw them into the system so I have something broken and I can go, it's broke. How do I fix it? The art of debugging nothing. Step 1 in debugging nothing is to write something. Then it doesn't work and you have a problem to fix. I don't know. Do the little YouTube dance, like, comment, subscribe, all that happy horse shit. I'm going to pretend that I'm going to jump in here and put some hitboxes and hurtboxes in. But I'm not. I'm probably just going to go doom scroll social media some more and find out what garbage Elmo's gotten up to in the last couple hours. I don't like this timeline. I really don't fucking like this timeline.